How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I am going to give you an update today on stimulus and where we're at because it's been a really long time since I've talked about stimulus, and I feel like a lot of us have just kind of forgotten about it, that we still might get some potential stimulus in the future. With some of the different news that's been coming out recently, I think that it definitely impacts the chances of whether we get stimulus or not. So before we get into it, if you don't mind hitting the like button and the subscribe button below, we are so close to 1,500 subscribers, so I think we can hit that in the next day or so, and I would really appreciate that. If that's the one thing that you have to do that's nice today, do that. I appreciate it. So let's take a look. Unemployment rate drops and 2.5 million jobs were added after states reopened. So this came out last Friday, and we have a massive day in the market. So it was about 2.5% up on the day. And since then, we've had some really good days in the stock market. Tuesday was the first day that was actually down in the last 6 days, I believe. So, there's a lot of confidence going forward. But then we started to get news that what they said might not actually be true. So, no, the jobs report wasn't rigged. Here's what happened. So basically, as you can see here, a lot of social media sites lit up with posts over the weekend talking about how the Trump folks fudged the figures. So it says, for many, those suspicions seemed confirmed by a note deep within the report saying some workers had been improperly counted as employed rather than unemployed. If those workers had been classified correctly, the unemployment rate would have been about 16.4% in May rather than the official rate of 13.3%. So that's massive. I mean, we're talking about millions, if not 10 million people that were misclassified in that jobs report. And that caused a massive fluctuation in the stock market, which caused billions of dollars to go in and out of stocks that wouldn't normally be put in there. So that's kind of interesting to see. When we heard that the unemployment rates dropped, I think that was a really bad look for more stimulus. So the fact that more people were going back to work doesn't help us when we want more stimulus, because the government really doesn't want to have to pay this. They only want to pay it if people are feeling like they need it. And if everyone's going back to work, they don't need it as much. So that came out, and we were thinking stimulus not as likely, but then this comes out, and the fact that they were about 3% off in unemployment, I think that's a really good sign that there's going to be further stimulus. And then actually on Tuesday, this was produced by the Wall Street Journal, and as you can see, I'm not subscribed here, but Kevin Hassett, who is one of the economic advisors to President Trump, said on Tuesday that the odds of a Phase 4 stimulus package are, quote, very, very high. Even if the data on output and jobs continue to surpass expectations, it's very, very high. So some of that might just be the politician in him saying that there's more stimulus coming and trying to kind of rally everyone behind Trump. Some of that might be the fact that he knows as an economic advisor that we need more stimulus, because as soon as the stimulus dries up, we're going to have some harsh times going forward, because our unemployment is multiples and multiples higher than it was before all this. So that's something to think about. And when you just look at the accounts, let's look at my Roth IRA. So I make investing videos, so subscribe if you want to see those regularly. But over the last month, I'm up 17%, and a good amount of my money is just in the S&P 500. But some of these other stocks are up massively. You see Carnival Corporation up 62%. And this kind of leads you to think, well, if the economy's not going very well and the stock market's going up like crazy, is there also a bubble? Will it eventually pop, and will we have to get stimulus because of the stock market dropping and there being more fear in the market? We don't really know how that's all going to shake out, but as I've said before in previous stimulus videos, the more fear that occurs, the greater our chances are that we get stimulus. So I think that's something that's important to look for going forward. And it seems like it's been so long since we've gotten an update on any of the stimulus from the government or heard any big headlines, because it's been a very long time since the House passed their version of this next stimulus package, which was the HEROES Act. And I just want to review this because for me, it'd been a long time since I've heard about the HEROES Act. And this was quoted as saying that it was going to be dead on arrival. But That was by the Republicans. They really were looking for a couple things that weren't included in here, but this was an 1,800-page proposal, and let's just hit on some of the highlights that would include. So the Democrats called for an extension of unemployment benefit protections that would carry to January 2021 instead of July 2020. So that's coming up here soon, so they're going to have to figure out something by the next month or two. One of the other things that they talked about was giving money for frontline workers, also giving money to teachers, and they would also give direct stimulus payments that would be similar to before, so $1,200 per individual, but you could get up to 3 independents of $1,200. So in the first round of these stimulus payments directly to Americans, they were giving $500 per dependent. Now they're talking about $1,200, so a family of 5 could get up to $6,000. And there have been other plans that talked about $2,000 a month. There have been other plans that were talking about giving people incentives to go back to work. And there are a lot of different plans going out there, but the Republicans, and especially Trump, wanted some kind of payroll tax deduction or a payroll tax cut. So what they were looking to do was to reduce or eliminate the FICA taxes that you have to pay, which are for a couple of the different programs that we have here in the United States, but it accounts for about 7.65% of your income that you have to pay in taxes, which for lower income brackets, that's the majority of what you pay in taxes. So if you make under $50,000 a year, especially if you make under 40 or 30, most of what you pay isn't federal or state. Most of it are these FICA taxes. If you pay more though, let's say you pay $100,000, or let's say you earn $100,000 though, you pay $7,650 worth of taxes just for FICA. So if you were able to decrease that to 0, that would help a lot of people. Now, I have talked about this in previous videos, but I think that this is something that the Democrats don't necessarily want to do. And when you think about how that would work, the people that would be benefiting the most from that would be the high income earners, because it's a percentage of your pay. So if you get paid $130,000 versus $30,000, you're going to save a lot more on those FICA taxes. And when you think about what those go to, and when you think about Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid, all those social programs, which I know not all FICA taxes go to that, but when you think about those social programs, those are really set up for those low income earners that haven't saved as much. So the people that are making $200,000 a year, let's say, hopefully they're able to invest and save and be able to provide a good future for themselves through investments and not through necessarily government benefits and those type of things that are meant more for the working class and lower class, maybe upper middle class. But what you're doing when you're taking away from those programs and providing those types of tax cuts, you're really just taking money from those programs, which will then not benefit the lower class later. So that is something that you run the risk of running into if you start doing that. The other thing that the Republicans really wanted were some kind of insurance for the businesses, business insurance, so that companies could feel good about opening back up and not feel like they're putting themselves at risk by inviting people back into their shops and into their stores, because that is something that the Republicans really thought would derail everything, would be if companies were too afraid to open back up because of what's going on in the economy right now. So that is kind of what's going on right now. We still have to wait a while to hear about the next round of stimulus. It might be a few days, it might be a few weeks, but the Senate is looking at this bill now and they'll be able to talk about it. There has been some legislation that has been passed recently, and that was actually the extension and the change in the rules to pay back the PPP loans. So that was really good. It allowed people to extend the PPP loans over a longer span, be able to use it for different things and change the percentage that they had to use for like payroll and rent and all that kind of stuff. So there were some changes there. So I made a past video on that, so you can check that out if you want. But, again, please hit the subscribe button. I'm going to update you whenever there's anything relevant. Hit the like button too. It helps push this video out to more people. If you want to start growing your wealth through something else besides just the stimulus payments and through your day job, check out the links below to get some free stocks and to be able to make some money in the stock market. You do have to fund a couple of those different accounts, so just make sure you read the disclosures beforehand to make sure that you actually get the sign-up bonus. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for doing all that. And I will see you in the next stimulus update video, or hopefully in the next investing video, which is coming out here soon. Thanks.